podcast on the Boss Up Houston Network. Come get your questions answered. We'll see you then. And remember, lawyer up. All right, everybody, welcome. Happy Friday, everybody. It is Friday. It's wonderful, great weather outside. We are giving you another show of Lawyer Up with Steve-O, and the podcast today is bringing you yet another great action-packed episode. We are leaving the way we started. This is the finale tier, yes, finale of season 2, but you know we've given you so much that I have to recuperate so that I can give you more content. And for those that don't know what this show is about, usually what I like to do with this show is give people a lot of different legal tips that can help them avoid pitfalls. But this season has been focused specifically on the pandemic and how the pandemic has affected all different types of sectors of the community. And we've had a fun process, this whole season, last season as well. Definitely check out past episodes. Briefly, who I am, my name is Steve Okoroha. I'm an attorney in Harrison, Fort Bend County. I practice family law. I do estate planning, business and contracts, as well as traffic tickets. And of course, I've been giving you legal issues about, a lot of different things outside of that. And I know you're wondering, who are these lovely people around me? I'm going to put on my Samuel L. Jackson voice, and I'm going to say I've assembled the greatest legal minds and warriors in Fort Bend and Harris County. That's how I feel. I brought together the Avengers today to give you guys a lot of different information. And you might be wondering, what are we talking about? We're talking about the law moving forward. Now, we've talked about every single other thing that has been affected by the pandemic, but we haven't really talked about how it's affected the practice of law and how us attorneys and judges have had to fare, trying to give you guys justice, trying to make sure that justice is served. Throughout the pandemic, we each have had legal issues and different pitfalls and different hurdles. We want to discuss that a little bit and tell you guys, how things have been and give a little bit of insight as to each individual person's struggle and successes, with their individual paths. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to name each guest and I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. And then we will go from there. So on my left, the first person that we have is attorney Sheila Lindsay.
Good afternoon. I'm Sheila Lindsay Sanders. I've been practicing for 23 years and currently work for a regulatory agency. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Welcome. All right, next we have attorney Hussein Hadi.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, sir.
Absolutely.
I've been practicing for about 12 years. I'm currently running for judge to earn the ranks of these prestigious judges that we have with us, and it's a pleasure to be here, sir.
Good. Welcome. And then next we have the Honorable Judge Tony Wallace.
Hi. Good evening, afternoon, I'm not sure. But thank you for inviting me for this prestigious panel to be on. My name is Tony Wallace. I am the presiding judge for County Court at Law Number 4 in Fort Bend County. I was elected to the bench in 2018 among the first 5 African Americans ever elected to benches in Fort Bend County. Before that, I was a judge in County Court at Law Number 5, and I was the first African American female judge ever appointed to a bench in 2016.
Wow.
So long career in law, over 15 years practicing, and I love everything about it. So I'm happy to be here and answer any questions and provide some insight into how the courts were operating during the pandemic.
Good. I told you guys we have some heavy hitters here. And then on to my right, we have not one, but 2 judges in the house. We have Judge Christian Becerra. How you doing?
Hi, thanks for having me. Christian Becerra. I am lucky enough to have practiced as a prosecutor in Fort Bend County, Texas. I was raised in Fort Bend County, Texas, born and raised. I've also served my community as a defense attorney and general practitioner for about 20 years in Rosenberg, but practicing in about 10 different counties. And I am super proud to be the newly elected judge in the 434th District Court. Thanks again for having me.
All right, welcome. All right, next we have attorney Farha Ahmed.
Glad to be here, Steve. It's an honor to be here in the company that we have here today. My name is Farah Ahmed. I have my own practice, law firm. I've been practicing for about 20 years in Fort Bend County, and mostly in the areas of business, family, and probate.
Good. And for those that remember with our very first episode this season, Ms. Ahmed was here. So we have two people that actually came back to us. Along with Ms. Ahmed, we have attorney Jamie Jordan.
Yeah, that's right. And thanks for having me again. That was a good time, so I came back again to do this all over again.
Yes.
My name is Jamie Jordan. I'm an attorney in Fort Bend County. I practice family law there. I'm also running for the bench, 328 District Court Bench, which is a family court bench in Fort Bend County. I've got 5 kids, ran them through the Fort Bend ISD. 4 remain, I guess actually 3 remain. I'm losing track. 2 in college, 3 remain in the Fort Bend ISD school district. And so Fort Bend is a good place to raise kids. It's a good place to practice. We've got 2 good judges here. Glad to be here with these guys. They're friends as well as colleagues of mine. So it's glad to be with everybody here today as well as these guys sitting next to me. So thanks for having me back.
Good. Welcome. And I am definitely can co-sign to what you said about Fort Bend ISD. I am a product of Fort Bend ISD as well. So wonderful district. So, and last but not least, we have attorney Wilvin Carter. How you doing, Mr. Carter?
I'm well, Steve. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me amongst these prestigious individuals today. My name's Wilvin Carter. I am actually a substitute. My wife couldn't be here. She's the newly elected judge for the 400th District Court in Fort Bend County. Myself, I'm just a peon. Come on. I practice criminal defense, mainly felony and federal cases. We're now moving into the realm where Heidi is. We want to, become rich like him. We're now doing civil cases, personal injury cases. But I started my legal career in Austin, Texas, with the Attorney General's office, defending 1983 claims that were brought against law enforcement agents. I stayed there for a year and a half. Then I came to Fort Bend County, to where I became an assistant district attorney. I stayed there for 3 years, and then I opened up my own shop, and I've been practicing criminal defense and now PI for the last 14 years. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks again, and I look forward to a lively discussion today.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you guys have heard it. We have a lot of things to talk about. You have so many lawyers and judges here. I know you're sitting at home or wherever you are thinking that you're in trouble. You're not in trouble. And no one here is wanting to sue you. Nothing's going to happen. We're just here to have some conversations and let you know about things that have gone on, especially as it relates to the pandemic. So we're going to take our first commercial break, and then we're going to get right into it. We've got to pay some bills, unfortunately. I know you're ready to get into it, but we're going to get right into it after this commercial break. So we'll be right back.
I just got through watching a great show on Boss Up Houston Network. Have you heard? They're bossing up, okay? And I heard they're looking for you. Any podcasters, talk show hosts, if you're a writer or producer, we definitely need you. Come aboard and boss up.
Are you a small business owner that is struggling to promote your company?
Our topic today is, what's your status?
Shoot the dice at this point.
You just shoot the dice, roll the dice.
So,
Yes.
Hey, how y'all doing? It's attorneys.
I love it. Imagine being televised on a national platform. How about being a host or sponsor on a syndicated podcast? Or being featured on exclusive promotions and interview for your product to your ideal customer? Hi, I'm Kayla Sneed, and I'm head of sales with Boss Up Houston. And here at Boss Up, we like to help small business owners and entrepreneurs advertise, promote, or become a sponsor for one of our television, podcast, or radio shows. All you have to do is click the link down below to see if you qualify. I'll be seeing you soon.
This is Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up, and boss up.
Want to be a boss? You're watching Boss Up Houston Network. It's Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up, and boss up.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome. This is Lawyer Up with Steve-O podcast. We're here to get right into the questions and have a lot of different perspectives and really engage in some great conversations. So I'm going to start to my left, and I want to question the Honorable Judge Tony Wallace. I know that we spoke previously, and with the pandemic, there were a lot of challenges, but also your progression to the bench also encountered some challenges with health-wise. Can you go into that a little bit?
You want pre-pandemic or after the pandemic?
Both.
Right? As I mentioned earlier, I was elected in 2018, took the bench, and actually at the end of 2018 going into 2019, but in March or April of 2019 I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so brand new, felt relatively new to this bench anyway, and just really, struggling with the stress and obviously the workload of being a judge and balancing that with self-care and trying to make sure that not just myself in terms of fighting the disease, but also my family. I have 3 kids and a husband, and so it certainly puts everything into perspective very quickly, and I learned that I needed to prioritize myself first. And my health, most importantly. But the most significant thing that came out of it was that my court staff was amazing. They stepped up and they basically said, Judge, we got this. Like, whatever you need to do, however much time you need to take off. I had to have 2 surgeries, had a double mastectomy, ended up having to go back in for breast reconstruction surgery. So throughout the year of 2019, it was just... it was a lot, and little did I know, it was like 2020 was like, hold my beer, because, we turned the corner, and I'm coming out of 2019 like, great, like, I'm healed, I'm good, I'm ready to hit the ground running, and let's go, and let's get this court really off and running, and COVID. So, but the most important and significant thing that came out of that was really just me focusing on myself and understanding that work-life balance is real. And there's a lot that we have to do as judges. There's a lot that we have to be involved in as judges, but slowing that down and just saying, right now, I have to be about myself.
Absolutely.
And doing that and committing to that made all the difference. Being able to rest. Really rest, not just sit at the house, but really rest, made a huge difference as well.
Good. And I'm sure all of us can relate to work-life balance being tough. But Honorable Judge Christian Becerra, I know that you also may have encountered similar issues with getting to the bench and trying to handle that transition. What was that like, and was it similar to what Judge Wallace was saying?
Nothing like that. God bless you. I mean, and a lot of us didn't know you were going through that, to be honest. And we wouldn't have noticed how smooth the court was running, to be honest.
Well, when people would say, I didn't know you had breast cancer, I'm like, because I didn't tell you. like it was a personal journey for me, and not to jump on his question, but when people are like, oh, you're a survivor, I'm like, no, I'm a warrior.
There you go.
Because I didn't survive. Surviving is very passive. I was very intentional, and we were battling, and we came out victorious. So the reason why people didn't know is that I didn't know about it.
It's really inspiring to balance that. And it gives you such a unique perspective. You going through your own health crisis, and then the nation is going through its own health crisis.
Back to back.
Absolutely. But you were talking about your transition.
No, my transition was easy compared to that. I waited for my girls to get out of school. My baby just graduated from college, and I worked very hard to build my practice for 20 years in Fort Bend County. I love where I'm from, but I practiced in up to 10 counties at one time. So I thought, running for the bench, and even though that was a job on its own, the campaigning, But getting to the bench, I thought I was going to slow down a little bit, and that hasn't happened at all. I had so I got to see a lot, working through the pandemic as a defense attorney, number one, as a civil attorney, a family attorney, but then switching, chairs and taking on the bench, totally different perspective. But so much, I learned so much from looking at it from the eyes of a defense attorney, through the eyes of my clients, and how I wanted to proceed as a judge, how I wanted my court to proceed. Mm-hmm. And honestly, what my agenda was to blow up the whole system and rebuild, brick by brick.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're doing right now. All of us, all the new judges in Fort Bend County, we have an agenda to make things better. For so long, I think so many people, so many issues were ignored in Fort Bend County, and those are coming out now. We're actually working for the people of Fort Bend County. And you'll see all these newly elected judges, not only are they working hard at work, but they're working hard after work to continue to work in the community. And I think that's what's changed. And I'm just super proud to be a part of it.
Good. And I think one of the things that you said that I really wanted to expand upon was, kind of those differences from having the attorney perspective versus the judge perspective, because we do have two people running for judge, and they like to know a little bit of insight as to how that initial change is, having that first perspective of looking at the judge, and then now you're the one having to be in control of hearings and everything. Like what's that like, and how is that perspective? You sometimes have to switch hats a little bit?
No, you wear all your hats at the same time. I think what made me a good defense attorney, I think Wolf can speak to this too, being a prosecutor first, you know?
Yeah.
Learning the other side. It made me a much better prosecutor. Now I can look at it from the eyes of both the prosecutor, the defense attorney, and the defendant that's sitting out in the courtroom as well.
Good.
My pet peeves as a defense attorney, sitting around or having to come and sit through a docket where in the court that I'm in now, and there'd be 80 people in the courtroom. And all of these people having to take off work every 30 days to come in to sign a piece of paper and then leave.
Yeah.
Sit there, wait for their name to be called as the judge read out the entire docket. A waste of everybody's time.
Yeah.
I had clients coming up to me asking me, Christian, I can't take another reset. I need you to work out this case because I'm going to lose my job. I never want that to happen again.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we threw all that out. We're taking advantage of some of the tools we got from COVID. We're trying to make it easier for the defense attorney to show up to court in a staggered docket. Wilvin knows because he was in my docket today. We're staggering every 15 minutes, not to waste their time. Also, we're allowing the attorneys to email resets, to e-file resets with the permission of their client, so their client doesn't have to take a whole day off of work to come up and sit there just to sign a piece of paper. So I'm trying to do things to better, again, the community, to take care of the entire community, including the defendants and the victims as well, who expect us to get back to work and start trying cases again, which we're doing, and I know Judge Wallace has already done. So we're moving. We're really working hard to make the system better in Fort Bend County, and I think we're accomplishing it so far.
I have to say, we've received a lot of calls from your courtroom setting us to trial, which is something we never had before the change in judges. We wouldn't even have docket control orders issued for years, and we would have to proactively go get them issued, so thank y'all for that.
I'm talking a lot about criminal, but we're trying to do that with civil as well. You could go 5 years and not get a trial setting for civil cases. People that expect to have their day in court. Ridiculous. Or criminal clients, criminal defendants. I got to learn how to say that right. So we're really trying to get to work.
Good.
What about Zoom? How is Zoom playing a role?
We use both. We use WebEx. I do what I'm told, and I use WebEx.
County software.
I don't.
County software. I know.
They're mad but that's okay.
So think about this. Again, I worked in 10 counties. So most of my time, and I think Wolven can talk to this too, we're in our car all day. And sometimes I had court in Waller, Fort Bend, Harris, and Brazoria at the same time. So try calling the judge and say, Judge, I'm sorry, but I've got to be. Nope, you're coming here first. So I would go to one court, and then everybody else was mad the rest of the day. Yeah. While my client had to sit there and wait for me to drive an hour and a half just so they could sign a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. won't happen again in before 34.
Well, good, and I'm glad you have that perspective coming from an attorney, because a lot of what you said is what I'm dealing with now, and implementing those things that help it be better and more efficient for attorneys to practice. Because yes, I mean, our clients get irritated with us normally, but then they're also irritated with us when we're not able to get things done. And I think that has been a struggle with the pandemic and some of the things that I think a lot of maybe, courts have realized maybe this is not going the right way, and we need to change some things and modernize some
Imagine
things.
that.
Yeah.
Change.
Well, I will say,
Change.
pre-COVID, we were right on the cusp, right? I was right on the cusp of allowing attorneys to appear by video or by phone, more so. And there were some judges, not a lot, but some judges in Fort Bend County that were ready to take that leap into video conferencing and get our feet wet and just kind of, beach entry, just ease in.
Yeah.
And COVID was like, let's go now.
Yeah, let's push you in.
So
in the
we
deep end.
did. We had to adjust, and I was the administrative judge for 2019 and 2020. It's a 2-year term, and literally we had to sit down and rethink how we worked our courtrooms because the court was closed. The county was closed, and we had defendants in jail, in custody, that were either going to get out, going to plea out, they're not going to get a trial because we can't have trials. We had juveniles in custody that we had to do something with. You can't just leave those kids in there and say, we're going to wait until the pandemic's over with. We'll come back to y'all in a minute. And so we were working, trying to figure out, and the great thing is that the state responded as well. The Office of Court Administration sent out an email to every single judge in the state of Texas. They bought a license for Zoom. That's why I use Zoom instead of the county. The county bought a license for WebEx, but we had already started on Zoom. So the Office of Court Administration, the OCA, sent it out and said, hey, judges, we bought everybody a license for Zoom. Get on there and get started. And so that's what we had to do. We just had to, the word of the year, I think, was pivot. We had to pivot and figure it out. But it wasn't just in our courtrooms. We also had other things to consider, like magistrate hearings. Right? And so for those people who don't know what a magistrate hearing is, when someone's arrested, they have to have a magistrate hearing. That's required. We have to have them every single day. And if you can't go to the jail because you're afraid to get COVID, then how are we going to have a magistrate hearing with the judge and the person in jail and their attorney and the public defender's office and the indigent defense office? We had to figure out how to make it happen. A lot of hours and a lot of meetings went into getting everything up and running, and we were able to create a magistrate video room in the jail. They completely re-outfitted an entire room for the jailers to be able to walk into a booth, pick up a phone, and be able to have their magistrate hearing with a judge that's in a totally different building. So we had to adapt a lot of things, and kudos to the people in the Sheriff's Department, the people in the Indigent Defense Office, the Public Defender's Office, the District Attorney's Office. We all had to work together to figure out how to get it done, and we did. It wasn't perfect. We chugged along for a little while, but with some fine tuning. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think we are full speed ahead with Zoom and video conferencing. So there's no looking back.
Especially for probate cases where you have witnesses in different states, and it's really more of an administrative hearing, but it can be so overwhelming by requiring everyone to show up in person. I'm not sure why we didn't do it before, but
I said the same thing.
Like, why didn't we?
And I know we definitely appreciate all the efforts that you and all of your staff have been doing to make it easier on us attorneys to practice. Because I mean, that was our biggest gripe was, hey, how are we going to get stuff done? And can we still continue using Zoom, even as things are starting to open up? And I was having a conversation with Mr. Carter about some of these issues. And, we were talking about how things are going to go going forward and how inefficient it has been in the past to require in-person presence when we now know we have the ability to practice law and get things done without it. So kind of elaborate a little bit on kind of what we were talking about and some of the things from the lawyer's perspective of, how we now have this love relationship with Zoom and how it's making our practice easier.
Well, Steve, the reality of I'm listening to the judges, and I can honestly say that the judges in Fort Bend County get it.
Yeah, I agree.
They get it.
I agree.
Other places, not so much, because everybody, for some strange reason, wants to go back to how we was doing it pre-COVID. And just this week, I was set for trial in one county, and I sat there for 4 hours, and my case needed to go to trial. And you had judges calling me in other counties saying, "Are you showing up? Are you showing up?" And I'm like, "Hey, y'all wanted this monster? Y'all want to open back up and require us to be in person?
Yeah.
You got to wait."
Yeah.
And I refuse to go back to stressing myself out or my clients and saying I got to be like Judge Becerra said in all these different counties at one time. Because during COVID, we received a recipe. We know that we can now get multiple things done in multiple places at one time, and the system will not fall apart.
Yeah.
And let me tell your viewers.
Speak to me.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell the viewers.
There you go. Go ahead.
I talked about video conferencing years ago, but the Republicans didn't want to do it. And now that the Democrats are in charge, the Democrats are doing it, the courts are running much more efficient, and you still have those, how can I put it, those that don't like Democrats being in charge trying to tear us down. And that's what the problem is.
Yeah.
And if you want your cases to move, if you want to save the county's money, if you want efficiency, we need to continue using video conferences. We need to continue to have, if we don't have to bring experts in, and guess what, if I have a case that Judge Becerra appointed me on, or Judge Wallace, and these two future judges, and I say I need an expert, and we can save money by not flying them in, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's use technology. We rave about technology being so great, especially here in America, but guess what? We don't want to use it for political reasons.
Yeah.
And so what I am saying to your audience and everybody here, let's move forward. Let's use technology because it works.
Yeah.
And if it works and it makes everybody's lives easier, then let's do it. Because like Judge Becerra said, what if my client is innocent? And my client has to come to court every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, and now his or her job is saying, if you miss again, you're gonna lose your job.
Yeah.
That's not fair to the citizen accused.
Yeah.
That's not fair to a person who's been accused of a crime that he or she may not have committed. So let's use technology. Everybody wins. Justice is still served. So let's use technology and continue to move forward in the 21st century. That's what it's there for.
Here, here.
Speaking to that too with experts, so we tried to have a hybrid hearing where we had some DNA experts broadcast into the courtroom, and we had some issues with the technology that the courtrooms are outdated. So the IT department came to my courtroom, and they've approved reconfiguring our system to work, so everything's going to be fed into one central unit. Everybody can hear clearly, and we're going to be able to broadcast. So a witness will be, in Seattle, comes in to testify. They'll be on a big screen for everyone to see and interactive with everyone in the courtroom.
We were just working on that today.
That should be up and running in the next couple of months, and once we get my courtroom done, the rest of the courtrooms in Fort Bend County are going to get done as well.
Wow.
So we're moving that direction.
Well done.
Can I just do a PSA about when you appear on the Zoom?
I feel like I know what you're going to say, but yes, please.
My client, it was my client. I want you to talk about my client.
So many things I just want to say, but I'll just pick out a few. Number one, please use your government name. as your profile name
There
on
it
the
is.
screen.
Good one.
I have a running list on my bench now of the very interesting and colorful names that have been used.
Yep.
I won't go into all of them. Jelly Red is my personal favorite.
Nice.
Jelly Red. So please use your name, or at least the name that is affixed to the lawsuit that you're involved in. That's first. Number one. And please, it is still a court proceeding, even though you may be in the comfort of your living room or dining room or kitchen or bedroom.
Or bed.
Or bed. You are still in court. Please present yourself accordingly. I've had wife beaters, I've had no shirts, I've had pajamas. I've seen it all,
Oh my goodness.
from defendants and attorneys alike.
Nice.
And then lastly, if you will please, ma'am, please, sir, when you turn your device on, I know it may take a while for the court to actually bring you in for your court proceeding. Could you please stay awake? Just whatever you need to do to keep yourself awake, because I turned on the camera and
Sleeping lawyers.
literally blanket over face,
In bed.
asleep,
Wow.
just knocked out.
Oh my.
Yes, ma'am, more than
Not
once.
good.
More than once. So that's all I got.
Note to
That's just
self.
professionalism.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Attorneys or defendants?
Both.
Oh,
No, I've never had an attorney speak. I've never had an
And
attorney
these things are being recorded.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's there for
Absolutely.
posterity.
America's funniest
yeah.
videos.
Right.
Courtroom edition.
Court videos.
Yes.
Court videos.
I think the biggest thing to remember, you guys, is stay awake. Get that Red Bull, get that Starbucks. Make sure you stay awake because you're still in court, even though you're at home and
And
you're
stay
in
awake
your
in appropriate
bed.
clothes.
And in appropriate clothes.
And your government
Yes.
name.
That and the name as well. I've seen every instance you have talked about it, and it's pretty bad. So if we want to keep doing this, we have to conduct ourselves still professionally. So let's do that. Attorney Hadi,
Yes, sir.
with a lot of these changes that have happened in terms of us using Zoom, changes with the court. I know that you practice on different levels. You also practice on the federal level. So can you tell us about that experience and how you navigated it?
Sure. Initially when COVID hit, we were somewhat virtual, but we had to fully create a system to where our clients can access their files, they can send documents that get saved. Our employees, it was just me and maybe 2 people in the office when COVID hit. All the staff can access everything anywhere in the country. Some of them would go visit family outside, to make sure they were okay, but I had my first federal trial 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
It was a little different than state court. Of course, state court trials in Harris County are out of NRG, and that's just a monster in and of itself. But in federal court, of course, when you enter, you have the restrictions, the temperature checks like any court. The voir dire was completely different. It was spread out in the jury assembly room. The judge, of course, conducts it, but they let us ask some questions. When you're in the actual courtroom itself, the judge instructed that if you want to be in the well and take off your mask, then you have to be about 10 feet away from the jury box, which the federal court, we were in the smaller courtroom, not in the bigger courtrooms. And so 10 feet, you're right there where you control the technology, not close to the jury. So I've been vaccinated. I felt comfortable. They allowed me to take off my mask to talk. There's big plastic guards, in front of the case managers and the law clerks and the judge himself. So that aspect was different. It didn't really create a delay in how we handled the cases. It was in front of Honorable Bennett. It was extremely efficient. And we were able to knock out the trial in 2 days, not including pre-trial hearing matters on the first day. So,
And we was in trial in Kentucky in the middle of COVID. Again, another red state.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, federal court, I will always say this, because I even remember telling my wife, hey, you guys, the state court judges should go and look at the federal courts. I mean, they had it figured out. It's just like Heidi was saying, we walked in, you got your temperature check, and they had it to a T. The only thing that was different was in Kentucky, we could take our mask off because it was, they blocked everybody. We were even blocked off from our clients.
Okay.
So
Wow.
the trial carried on as a normal trial. Some differences like voir dire, we had to bring the panel in, split the panel up, bring one half in, then bring the second half in. But I've always been a huge proponent, I think Heidi will second this. if there's ever anything in doubt, if you turn to the federal courts, they're already ahead. Like even like online filing, we've been doing that, forever. So we already had WebEx in federal court. So it was an easy transition for the federal courts.
Yeah, the federal courts didn't really slow down when COVID hit. I mean, they were calling trials shortly after the shutdown, and I love being in federal court because of the process and how fast it is, and you don't have to wait 3-4 years for your day in trial. So it was great. It was great.
But, going to trial is like a performance, and I'm just trying to think, how did that impact you getting close to the jury? Because I remember when I was allowed to make opening statements and you can get right up to the jury box, put your hand on the railing and really look in the eyes of the jurors, and you're not able to do all that. How did that impact your kind of performance level?
I try a lot of car wreck cases, and I did it once in a first-person perspective opening, which was very difficult, and I just ran into the jury box, slammed into it. You can't be as dramatic, but you can still express yourselves in federal court. I don't know if you want to perform that much, but we were still able to encourage them, touch with the juries, and there was only 6. It was a panel of 6, so not 12. But it was exciting. At the end of the day, the performance is within yourself, and it's how you exemplify yourself in court in front of everybody.
Yeah, I'm a fool regardless, so it didn't stop. You just did it at a safe distance. Yeah.
Use the whole well.
No, you could. Yeah, the judge will allow you to use it, and and especially in federal court, everything is so very methodical. Everything is so. How can I describe it? It's orderly. It's so orderly in federal court. So anytime they can get a colorful attorney in, they can lively up the place, they allow it.
We entertain. Don't say you're not entertained.
I definitely
we
tested
have that.
my limits with honorable defendants. So.
And how does that contrast with when you practice like criminal law? Say when you have to actually come back to the district and the county and everything.
And I'm even more lively in state court, especially with criminal cases. So it's we haven't tried anything, believe it or not, in state court. I've had 2 trials in federal court, nothing in state court. So I'm itching to get back in state court because I got a year worth of build up that I'm ready to
You're ready to unleash. He's trying to get a SAG card.
Yeah, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to let the people have it.
Good. And another industry that you got to let people have it is also personal injury, which I know you do quite a bit.
Yes,
I mean, we're bombarded with commercials and this guy in the billboard with a flamethrower and everything. That's
Texas
really cool.
Torch. That's my Zoom handle. I thought you were talking about me.
Better change that.
I haven't seen that one yet. I'll look for it.
So how has the practice of personal injury been?
I wrote an article about gaps in treatments and delays in treatments that insurance companies always know. Your client waited 3 days before they sought treatment or waited 1 week, and when COVID hit, it nullified the concept of gaps in treatment because people they could have a bad accident, they didn't feel comfortable leaving home for months at a time, right? And the insurance companies can't use that argument anymore. They can't. Can you imagine? I argue with them now saying when we try these post-COVID cases, you're going to have a jury panel of individuals that are going to reflect on life during COVID. And you can't walk in there. If it didn't work before, it's definitely not going to work after COVID. And when you waited a month before treatment, I wonder why.
Yeah.
So it's that aspect is much different.
Yeah.
But for the most part, one thing that we're seeing now, guys, is devastating accidents. The magnitude of the impact, because people aren't focused, guys. Don't text and drive, please. It's the worst thing you can do. Or shave and drive, or eat and drive, or do anything else but drive. And we're seeing Zoom and drive.
Oh my gosh! If I see somebody on the Zoom, I'm like, "Are trees moving behind you? Please pull over, please."
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to talk to you anymore until you pull
Yeah,
over.
very dangerous. And
It is.
I argue against things that bring me more business, but it's not about bringing me business. It's about creating a safe community and environment. But one thing is the impacts are a lot harder now post-COVID.
You know what's interesting about that? When you look at it from the perspective of PI and how the insurance companies are trying to keep the harmed individual from obtaining the treatment or the settlement that they deserve, I instantly think clients that are in jail, that were in jail during COVID. And again, I'm always thinking about, what if someone's innocent and they have to wait until they get their trials?
Devastating.
And that is probably the most devastating part of COVID as it relates to criminal cases, because these guys, it was nothing they can do.
Yep.
You know, and then if it was a good case for the defense, you know, and I hate to put this on the state, but they would not waive their jury, so we can get justice for these individuals. And that was sad. It was even more sad. Even like today, you got people that are still sitting in jail. Now, again, I'm going to say this to your audience, not in Fort Bend County, because Fort Bend County has made their preference is, before we try any case where individuals on bond, we're getting people that's in custody, their day in court first. But you have other counties, the red counties, that they're not doing that. And the people that are typically sitting in jail, believe it or not, they're either black, brown, or poor. And that's what's disheartening about the system and what we're seeing on the criminal side as it relates to COVID.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and that's a good point with the disparities in terms of socioeconomic and racial backgrounds of how this has really affected people getting their day in court. I mean, there's been so much that I've experienced in my practice as well that are similar to what you're saying, and being able to kind of navigate that and make sure your clients have their day in court. Depends on where you are, right? Depends on what county you're in, depends on what municipality you're in. It just depends on if people are resistant to change or if they actually want to make sure that people are getting in and getting out and getting on with their lives. So we've talked about a whole lot right now, but I think I want to give everybody a little break. Let's take a few minute commercial break, and we're going to get back with a lot more information as it pertains to you. Yes, you. We're still going to talk about the practice of law a little bit, get into it, because a lot of these affect you, and a lot of these issues are things that you deal with on a daily basis. Hopefully not on a daily basis. Let me change that. It can deal with it in very many different aspects of your life or a friend's life or a family member's life, and we want to make sure that you know about the things that are being done to help you navigate through that. So we'll be right back.
Steve, I'm in big trouble. I need your help.
I got you. Don't worry, man. What do you need? At Goodman & McGill, we offer a wide variety of services catered directly to you. So come to us for whatever issue you have. We can definitely take care of it and offer you very fast and prompt communication and excellent service. That is our motto here at Goodman & McGill. Our services include family law, divorce, child custody, child support, name changes, business and contracts, estate planning, probate, traffic tickets, wills, trusts.
Thanks again, Steve.
No problem. Anytime.
Yes, sir.
Here at Goodman & McGill, we take care of all of your legal issues. Check us out online at www.goodmanandmcgill.com.
Our new house is amazing. Great street, huge yard.
There is a bit of an issue with our neighbor's fencing. At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
Which helps us save even more.
Hey, Sarah. Hey, Peter.
Touche.
What? Tongue out.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
If you like this video, please share it.
And hit the subscribe button to watch more great Geico videos if you... Hey, guys, can you please watch the begonias? Just planted those.
Sorry.
Stay up. Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up.
Welcome back, everybody. Like I said, we are gonna get right into it. We are back with Lawyer Up with Steve-O. We're talking a lot about the legal system and how things have changed since the pandemic, and a lot of the struggles that we attorneys and judges have been going through. But now we want to get a little bit more a little bit outside of that and talk about some of the things that we talked about before. And of course, as it affects small businesses now with the pandemic, we know that businesses have really taken a toll in very many different aspects. There have been resources that have been offered, so we want to expand upon that a little bit. And the person that I'm going to go to now, Miss Sheila Lindsay, what I wanted to ask you was, you're in a unique position to be able to see what businesses are going through and dealing with that, and what challenges they're having with trying to keep open and being shut down and stuff like that. So can you elaborate a little bit?
Sure. Well, businesses had to completely modify, as we've seen, the way that they operate. And so already having safety protocols that they have to follow anyway, just at the state and local level, coupled with COVID, protocols, was very challenging for most businesses. We can look at primarily what we all tend to interact with were our restaurants, because we saw how restaurants had to basically build an environment that was safe not only for their employees but their customers. And so it's always a challenge when you're asking a business to modify its operations, but with the COVID restrictions, that was just something that most of us in our lifetimes have not had the opportunity to live through anything like that.
Yeah.
So you had to have situations where, one, your employees felt comfortable enough to even show up to the job in the first place, and also to be able to attract customers that would feel comfortable and safe to show up and to participate in eating that meal. Or it was just so many different types of businesses that were I think all businesses were affected, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I really do. I think all were.
Yeah.
And I'll give this quick story, let me
Sure,
get that in.
absolutely.
So one business that we don't normally think about, furniture business. Went shopping for furniture the other week, wanted to get a new king size bedroom set, and the guy was like, we don't have anything in inventory. Because those individuals that work at those warehouses who build that furniture have not been able to go into work. And so something as remote as the furniture stores are also, suffering, and COVID had a lot of impact on that. And of course, a lot of the furniture stores aren't gonna tell us that.
Yeah.
But I did notice that a few of the stores I went to, it's very hard to find a king size bedroom set. It really is.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, and now that we know that people like Mattress Mac have been hit by COVID. Shout out to Mattress Mac. What are some of the ways that you have helped some of these businesses try to stay afloat, or what services have you offered in order to help people overcome the prospect of having to shut down and close their doors permanently?
Primarily for me was relaying information, because a lot of businesses simply did not understand what those protocols entail. They didn't understand how they would have to modify their operations in order to function and try to make it. And so for me, most of what I did was actually encouraging the businesses to think outside the box, right? Because in order to function, you really had to learn how to be creative. If you're not creative, a lot of people suffer. But you really had to tap into that creativity.
Yeah.
And what I also saw was that actually a lot of businesses knew how to do it. They I don't know what they did, but they figured out how to be creative and stay afloat. And
Good.
so we always encourage that.
Good. Judge Wallace, I think the word of the year was pivot.
Pivot.
Yes.
Pivot.
That's
And unprecedented.
Unprecedented, yes.
I'm a military girl, so we use flexibility.
Flexibility,
Let's
yeah.
learn to be flexible.
Flexible.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, in talking about some of those issues with having to change and pivot, I know the government has offered resources in terms of the PPP loan, the EIDL loan, but there also are pitfalls with that as well. And Attorney Ahmed, I know that you have maybe heard different things about what has been going on with it. I know that may not be specifically where your expertise is, but can you shed some light on what has been going on with that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been such a difficult year for small businesses, to say the least. And right now, in the process of helping businesses either wind down their business or trying to get them out of their leases and trying to find another way for them to go on and think outside the box.
Yeah.
If you're a service-oriented business, you might be able to give your consulting services and things like that through Zoom. You may not need a brick-and-mortar office where you were paying rent.
Yep.
We have a lot of attorneys that are now starting to do virtual offices. They don't need the problem of leases and overhead and things like that. But for businesses, now you had the CARES Act that came in that supported businesses with their rent support, the rent expenses.
Yeah.
That has finished. But now there's a Recovery Act, so a lot of the counties are being infused with a lot of money. And they're trying to help people with their rent, especially those in categories like seniors and veterans. There's a lot of rent support still for them.
Wow.
But for small businesses, I mean, it's a touch and go. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to go back to the traditional Small Business Administration and look for loans there. But it's very difficult for them. And I think at this time, we're asking people to work with the landlords and work with the other parties in terms of trying to take care of those expenses and kind of pivot and move to another direction. There's one caveat. I mean, we still have landlords that are looking at leases and are really not empathetic of what's happened during during COVID and the pandemic. And so there's this one provision which, a lot of lawyers, we get these leases and they're all kind of, pro forma.
Yeah.
And, nobody knows what some of these provisions do until, the rock hits you, and then you realize, oh my God, this provision is horrible. Like, why is that in that lease? Like, why didn't we just try to get it out of that lease? Because we see it in every lease.
Yeah.
And one of them is called the holdover provision, which is like, even if the tenant has a nice discussion with the landlord, says, hey, I want to go month to month, after the lease expires, just to check it out.
Yeah.
And this provision goes, it doesn't matter what anyone says. You're going to be charged 200% of your rent, and the landlord doesn't have to say anything. So you have landlords that just keep quiet. So you're paying your month to month, and you're thinking, I'm paying on time. And then you decide, you know what, I'm going to give you the 30 days notice and say, I don't want to stay in this place anymore. The bill comes in, and it's double the amount because you had to pay double the rent, and he didn't have to tell you you were in default all this time. So you get the sticker shock at the end. And it's like, oh my goodness. I said, this case needs to go on appeal. The Supreme Court has to really rule on this because this is a very terrible provision. So from now on, all the attorneys are just looking everything in a fine-tooth comb, and then having a provision for something like the pandemic. There was nothing like this in these leases.
Yeah,
so as moving forward in the business world, you want to have a safety net there for you when you have these agreements to make sure everything is there. There's a way for you to get out of a lease in a very safe way. But there is money available. It's still touch and go. Evictions are back on.
Yeah.
And there are still some remaining government programs that if you're truly impacted by COVID directly and your rent is at issue because of that, you're not able to make your rent, you can apply for a government program, but you have this lag time of 1 to 2 months. In the meantime, you can still get evicted, so it's a very difficult situation for people. They're still trying to catch up with the rent in arrears,
Yeah.
You didn't get your past rent that you didn't pay wiped off. You just were given a break of not being evicted. You still have to come back and pay all those rents that you didn't pay forward. It's a struggle.
Yeah, to kind of jump in on that, I've had the experience of having clients, I'd read their contracts and they would, the main thing was that act of God. Contracts and a lot of people were trying to get the pandemic qualified as an act of God is why they're not being able to pay, and of course foreclosures is another thing that people were struggling with there. So those are definitely things that we it really just depends on where you are and where you have the resources to be able to take advantage of that, and I think especially in landlord-tenant issues, and maybe Attorney Lindsay, you've encountered this with small businesses trying to stay afloat, because I know a couple of businesses that have come into my office as well and have tried to say, hey, Steve, what can I do to stay? What types of things have you seen in that aspect in terms of landlords trying to kick businesses out of their place?
Same as Attorney Farad said, it's just been some of the landlords don't care.
Yeah.
I know as to some of the regulatory agencies, we actually waived a lot of fees and actually did not pursue any type of fees or penalties, like, if a license needs to be renewed, we actually extended the renewal time period. And also, so that was something that we made a lot of waivers for, because we understood that businesses were suffering. And so if they can stay, afloat, that helps us to stay afloat, and we understood that. But also just trying to accommodate businesses and trying to help in whatever way we could. So from my perspective, a lot of the regulatory agencies just did a lot of things. We waived certain statutes and rules to be able to accommodate those businesses trying to make it. Why? Because in Texas we're pro-business, and we want businesses to survive. Everyone does better when businesses survive, and so we tried to help out as much as we could with that.
Right. And we're also very pro-landlord too, so that's when you figure it out, how much pro-landlord it is. But I will say the other side of the pandemic is for those that are like legal service providers, and I do a lot in the area of probate, is it got people to think of succession plans in their business and in their personal life. What do you do if someone is very, very sick and can't make those important decisions in the business world and in your family financial life? Definitely. And so you had these Zoom consultation meetings that I thought were absolutely sweet, which is you're having a husband and wife sitting at a kitchen table and talking to the attorney and talking about their future, something that they didn't want to really talk about. And finally, families are sitting down at the kitchen table deciding, what are we going to do if something happens to one of us? I thought that was such an important turnout in terms of from this pandemic, a learning lesson for people to think about those things.
Absolutely. A lot of times families didn't want to talk about it.
Right.
You know, you had families where
Yeah.
they just don't want to talk about death, and unfortunately it's a part of life.
yeah.
So
It's on the news every day, so death, so you're thinking,
Yeah.
you know, it could be somebody that we just, you know, it could happen to any one of us, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and I know I've done a couple of Zoom will certification, you know, what do you call it? Execution. Will execution. Thank you. Will execution meetings with my clients over Zoom.
Yeah.
And I offered to have a notary that was here with me, and then they would be in their house.
Yeah.
They would sign a document, show it to the notary.
Yeah.
They would send it to me,
Yeah.
email it or fax it, or text it to me, take a picture and text it to me. We would get it notarized, and I would read them, the different, statements and stuff that I had to say.
I think the witnesses part was difficult. The courts couldn't figure out why the witnesses could not do it through Zoom, but whatever, they decided that you still had to be near the testator. So that was a difficult part. So we did, as an alternative, we did a lot of holographic wills. So hopefully, and I said, just do one as a.
Down the line, they'll hold up.
Right, hopefully they don't show up in your court because with bad handwriting, like, what did you say? So, as a stopgap.
Check the date. Was that in 2020? Okay.
Right. So
Fine.
we did that. We
Fine.
taught people how to do holographic wills. We did free seminars. Just do it, just to hold over
Because you
until you
have to
get the
be
witnesses and get ready.
Innovative.
Yeah.
And pivot.
Totally.
COVID has just, I think, advanced the practice of law. Not just
Absolutely.
in Fort Bend County, but I think for everyone, because you
Absolutely.
had to figure out how to make it work. And the creature comforts of, well, I'll bring you into my office, or, oh, we'll do it in the courtroom, or we'll meet at the courthouse on the day of the hearing, or whatever.
Yeah.
That was gone. And so it forced everyone, lawyers, defendants, clients, judges, administrators, everybody had to figure out, how are we going to keep this going? My biggest thing was, how are we going to continue to have access to justice? Because when the whole county shuts down, people don't stop living. People don't stop, the cases don't just end. The people in custody don't just say, the district attorney doesn't just say, okay, we're gonna stop arresting people.
Yeah.
And the sheriff doesn't say, okay, we're gonna let everybody out. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen. You have to figure out how to make it work. And I'm really, really proud of the work that has gone into making it work in Fort Bend County. It has been amazing. I don't think that we're the model for any other county in the state, because other counties were figuring it out too. But I think for the elected officials that we had in place at the time of the pandemic, they truly stepped up.
Absolutely.
And they did whatever they had to do and whatever was necessary to make sure that we were able to keep going.
I think when they moved fast.
Yeah.
They embraced it. And I hate to give credit to a software, but I think Zoom made me a better lawyer in terms of providing services to my clients.
Absolutely,
I think they were
I
given
agree.
comfort, and they were given a safety net, and they were given accessibility to me.
Yeah.
And I felt I was so much more efficient with their work.
Absolutely.
Definitely efficiency for us. You don't have to drive, you don't have to park, you don't have to wait in line for the elevators in Harris County. God knows, we have one elevator.
It's a whole adventure in and of itself, isn't
So
it?
you can literally work and prepare to the minute you're supposed to log on, have your hearing, and then when you're done, keep working on another file and
Or jump into another area.
another case or so another hearing, right?
And be kind to your judges who are taking a long time to get to you while you're in their waiting room. I'm just saying.
No, we're blessed to have the opportunity.
Definitely, and I'm
Why don't
sure.
you just be like Judge Becerra and just, you have 15 minutes.
Well,
In and out, in and out.
Well, I have attorneys who are like, Judge, I've been in and they're emailing my coordinator. Does the judge know I'm in the waiting room? Yeah, I see you there, but there are like 10 cases ahead of you, and then I bring them in and they're like, Judge, I've been waiting for an hour and a half. I'm like, what do you think I've been doing for that entire hour and a half?
Waiting for you.
I don't know, I've been talking.
Right,
I'm
the
literally,
entire time,
my
yeah.
dockets, I'm talking the whole time. I'm on camera the whole time. So for the attorneys that are waiting, I'm like, well, that's nice that you're waiting in your office or your house or
Yeah.
whatever, and you get to get up and leave and go in the room and come back, and I'm literally on the whole time.
Which is the same, because you still gotta wait in the courtroom for your turn, right? When you have hearings and you have like 10 cases on the docket, you're still sitting there waiting, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
part is still,
Right.
it's okay, but it's everything that leads up to it that's
Yeah.
more efficient.
I always
Yeah.
warn my witnesses, listen, you might be in the holding room, just be patient,
Right.
because, and I haven't had any issues with that. They are normally just texting, is everything still going? Yes.
Just wait.
We're still, yes,
Just
we're being
wait.
patient,
We're
and
coming.
the judge, I'll
But if
get to
y'all,
you.
but if y'all know, being placed on hold on a phone prior to this, like when you're saying about the waiting room, because you don't really know if they know we're there, right? So if you're called before that, if you're on the phone and you're placed on hold, you're like, they probably don't even know I'm on hold yet.
Yeah.
They probably went away, so you just gotta like, people are
Well,
like nervous. They're
But
like,
the cool thing about what the OCA did for the judges, not only did they buy a license for Zoom for every single judge, they also made it to where we can live stream on YouTube. I know some judges that live stream on YouTube or Facebook. I choose YouTube because I don't want to deal with the Facebook stuff. But yeah, so my coordinator, her response when the attorney says, "Does the judge know I'm in the waiting room?" She's like, "Yeah, you can log onto her YouTube channel because she's live streaming right now, and you will see that she's working and she's gonna get to you." That kind of gives some people some confidence that okay, it's going. I just gotta wait.
And I have to remember that, because that live streaming is kind of next level, and people don't always have that perspective of, oh, okay, well, hey, everyone gets to watch this, so.
They
but
forget.
They forget, yes.
Everybody's watching on
They definitely forget, but speaking of waiting, we have to take one more commercial break, and we have to come back, so let's pay some bills, and we'll be right back.
Stay up.
Where we look up, stay up.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Steve Okoraha and Lawyer Up with Steve-O. We are getting into a lot of great conversations, letting you guys know how it is in our world and all the things that we've discovered, but also what we're doing to make sure justice gets served in a very expedient and efficient process. Hopefully you've heard a lot of different things about a lot of different areas and practices, and of course we touched on small businesses and landlord-tenant issues. But now we want to touch a little bit on family law. This is something I practice quite extensively, and I know everyone has had some type of issue in the past, or you know someone that has had some type of issue. So Attorney Jordan, I want to pitch this to you. So what have been some of the issues with the pandemic? We had a conversation that you gave me a very interesting tidbit because we know that with the pandemic, everybody being at home, we saw a spike, unfortunately, in domestic violence. So what's kind of the other side of that, and what other developments have happened within the realm of family law?
Right, and you can totally call me Jamie. It seems so formal. Okay, so with family law, if you guys can recall, which feels like it was 10 years ago when we heard about COVID, you can recall where you were at, where you were sitting, exactly like you're like, what is this, and what's going on, and why are they shutting down things, and oh my God, is there aliens coming? I don't know what's going on, right? Because you're just sitting there going, what? And so we all had a routine. We all had like a routine. We got up in the morning, we did this, we got our kids on the bus, and we're like, yes, they got on the bus, and we didn't even think that was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
You got your kids on the bus, then you went about your day, you did your work, you got home, and then you just dealt with things, right? So we all had a routine. It's like going to the grocery store. And I live over in Siena at HEB, and that's a big place, and a lot of cars there a lot of the time.
Yep.
And so when I go there, I try to park in the same spot. I don't know if Wilman does the same thing, but I try to park in the same spot because I forget where I park. By the time I go through there, I'm like, where did I park? And so it's like you try to, everything's a routine, right? So you have your routine with everything that you do. And so when COVID hit with families, kids stopped going to school. With family law cases, we were not able to have hearings at that time.
Yeah.
So there was like this lull period where families were just not having access to the courts because it was like, how do you get access to the courts, right? So kids started staying home from school because schools were shut down, and then families were trying to deal with those stressors of being able to work, and what does that look like? Were they going to go to work at an office, or did their work transition to being at home? And so there was a lot of transitioning, as Judge Wallace had said, adapt. You had to learn how to adapt very quickly, and if you were in an environment which was okay, then it's fine, right? But when you have families that are at tension, right, and then you're going through the pandemic, you're trying to figure out, okay, what's this going to look like? Especially if you had domestic violence or you had violence in the home. And also, guys, if you think about, some of these kids went to school just to eat.
Yeah.
And now they don't have, and I just get chills thinking about it, because it's like now they don't have those meals that they were planned out. And so now what? Now they got away from somebody in their environment that could have been hurtful or abusive towards them, but they just got a break for a minute.
Yeah.
And then they had to now be in this environment, and not all was bad. There were some good things with COVID too, is that when you had families that were at tension, that gave people an opportunity to come together because they had to.
Yeah.
They may have been going through a divorce, and then they were going to say that we're going to split up. We're each going to have our separate incomes, but maybe somebody lost a job.
Yeah.
So now they're like, okay, well, do I really hate you, or do you just you just really irritate me, and we can work on this? And so there was reconciliation. So I had cases that filed for divorce, and then they reconciled, and I was like, okay, good for you guys. That's amazing. So it's not all the bad stuff that came out with COVID, but just that transition. And with family law cases, because we didn't have access to the courts right away because they were trying to figure out what to do with us, we mediated a lot of cases. I'm a strong believer in mediation, because
Absolutely.
if anybody's been through that, and I know a lot of the viewers probably have been through that situation where they've been in a family law case, they've gone through divorces, or they've gone through modifications or enforcements or anything like that, it's stressful. You have a divorce situation, and then you put COVID in, and it's like you just want to really go nutty. We try to not go nutty with what we have from start to finish of a day, and then you put all this other extra stress in, and so those families were just more and more tension. And so a lot of the times just bring them in, and I'm a strong believer I do litigate, but I also believe highly in mediation, because these are families, these are two parents that have to, if they have kids that are still minors, that still have to go through school, they still got to do extracurricular activities, they still got to stand in a room and not want to give each other the eyes. You have to try to get along, right? So you have to get them into mediation, try to resolve some of those issues in mediation, so you're not litigating for 5 days in court and you're telling this person how awful of a person they are, when that's the person that they have to parent with, right? And then how do you recover after that when you've just spilled all the beans about how much I don't like you, right? So mediation was very useful during that time, and so we use mediation a lot to resolve those issues, which is good for families, and I'm a strong believer in that. So.
Good. And mediation is definitely one of those things that I saw an uptick in when I'm doing my cases as well, and I know that people were able to get that reconciliation, or at least that amicable coming to an agreement that would not have happened had not people have just sat down and relaxed, sit in one place, and think, okay, well, how am I going to get through this? Because I don't want to still be in this situation. I may not like this person, but hey, I have to come to some sort of an agreement with them.
Right.
You
right.
know, and not just keep fighting the fighting the good fight, or
Right.
fighting whatever cause you think you're fighting about. So, but yes, I mean that's just some of the many issues that have affected all of us as attorneys and judges in performing our duties, and of course giving you great service. It's all about the people, the public, the citizens. That's what we do it for, and that's what we're all passionate about. Every single one of us up here, and definitely trying to make sure that justice is served. So we want to have some last closing words. Of course, we have some political candidates that are running for different things. So I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to plug yourselves and state exactly what you're doing, how people can reach out to you, and what you're running for specifically, so people can find you on the ballot.
And you're looking right at me. It's like when you look at your kids, you're like, I know I'm talking to you. So my name is Jamie Jordan. I practice family law. I've been doing that for the last 12 years. And so in Fort Bend County, and I'm running for a district court bench. It's the 328th, and that's a family court bench. All they hear is family law cases, so that's what's in front of them. I feel like I've been in the courthouse with Wilvin. I've been in the courthouse with Judge Becerra, with Judge Wallace. I just feel like these guys, like, we're fixtures. Are we the old people now? I think we're the old people.
You're the old
Okay.
That's right. Thank you.
I rebuke
Easy.
We're the experienced ones.
I like that. Experienced.
Yeah.
Experienced.
Seasoned.
Yes. I like that. So good.
Yes. And not to call everybody old, but we've been around for a while, and I feel like I've been amongst some really good individuals working as colleagues, and been in front of now as their judges now, and the judges that we have. I mean, it's just a great environment to be in. Fort Bend County is a good place to live in, and so we are a very diverse county, which is awesome.
It is.
So that's great. So you got many different cultures and backgrounds, and so yes. So I'm going to stop. Okay, I'm running for judge of a family court in Fort Bend County.
What's your website?
Jamie.
Well, it's a work in progress. Yes.
No, I have it. I just don't know what the website is.
Okay. Well, you can probably search. You can probably search for her in Google
her name.
and see her Facebook and Instagram as well. So because Attorney Hadi jumped in, I'm gonna jump to him.
I was trying to give you an opportunity to pre-plug,
Right.
you know, right?
I'm like, I can't remember.
I should have said this in the beginning. I was born and raised in Alief. I spent my whole life in Southwest Houston, Sugar Land. I remember when Sugar Land was nothing but cornfields, driving all the way to Loma Vista or even to my family's house in Missouri City. I've practiced law for 12 years now. I've tried probably 50 cases myself. I grew up in the JP court system. Just traffic tickets, speeding tickets. I've been in other court systems as well, but I feel like there's more for me to give back as a judge of a JP court, which directly affects the community that I live in and my kids are growing up in. And to touch on efficiency when it comes to a platform topic, I don't think people who get a speeding ticket or running a stop sign should sit in court all day just to be told we don't have a jury panel and they might lose work, they have to give up money, and sometimes the money that's worth more than the value of the ticket. So hopefully create efficient ways to allow people to understand they did something wrong, but not give up too much life in the process of trying to reconcile or rehab themselves. I was a kid, I guess we're all still young, right? I feel like I'm a kid at heart, so definitely want to help with kids who have truancy issues, and but definitely I feel like we can give back with the law firm and give back as justice of the peace. So Hadi for judge, and I have a little different approach. We have friend-raisers instead of fundraisers, and the next one is July 31st, guys, at Decadent Coffee and Dessert Bar. And this is the first time anyone heard of it, so hopefully everyone makes it.
You heard it here first, folks.
And I'm running for Justice of the Peace Precinct 4. in Fort Bend County, guys. So HotieForJudge.com. Go online and send us a free smile, please.
All right, good. Thank you so much. And do we have any other candidates in the room? Or
Well, I'm up for re-election.
Good.
And so I will be joining Ms. Jordan and Mr. Hottie on the ballot in 2022. So we're not quite there yet, but I will be running for re-election for County Court at Law Number 4. We're going to re-up and do this thing all over again. Campaigning is hard, but it is certainly worth it in the long run. And I have enjoyed every minute of being a judge. People ask me, do you like being a judge? It is hands down the best job I've ever had. But the best part about it is being able to serve my community. I also grew up in Fort Bend County, graduate of Dulles High School, a product of Fort Bend ISD, went to University of Texas, then went to South Texas, came back home so that I could serve my community. And volunteering and service has always been a part of my DNA. So I just continue that on the bench, and I'm able to do that because my court covers like 5 different areas. We do juvenile, we do misdemeanor, we do probate, we do civil, we do mental health commitments. Very busy courts. The county courts are very busy, but every day is an opportunity for me to give somebody a second chance, or to give a juvenile the opportunity to show that you made a mistake, you made a bad choice. We're not going to let that dictate what happens to you for the rest of your life. So, and even with eviction appeals, I'm able to try to work things out between landlords and tenants. It's always something different for my probate cases. I just love being able to give people that closure if they've had a loved one that has died, or if they're trying to get a guardianship. So lots of different areas that I love about being a judge, but I'm not done yet. I want 4 more years so I can finish what I started. So I am up for re-election in 2022. Toni Wallace for County Court at Law Number 4.
Excellent. And definitely check all of us out in all of our different areas of law. I know we have a lot to offer you guys in various aspects of your lives. And how can you check me out? Let me give you my website, www.goodmanmcgill.com. Phone number is 833-529-9748. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook. So you have all the ways to reach me. Let me know exactly how you feel about this show and any other show. We are going to come back to you sometime in the future for season 3. Thank you so much for being and sticking with me in this journey. And remember, when life gets you down, remember to lawyer up. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Steve-O.
Tune into the Lawyer Up with Steve podcast on the Boss Up Houston Network. Come get your questions answered. We'll see you then. And remember, lawyer up.